Hey everybody, so I wanted to give you 3 really easy and simple tips on how to deal with times of anxiety or anger or frustration when you feel like things are out of your control. But before I get into that, make sure if you haven't already, you hit subscribe and you hit that notifications bell so you get a cheeky little notification every time I upload a brand new video. And also check out the links below in the description and make sure you follow me on all social media. I post every day somewhere, shape or form, so make sure you check it out there. And also there's a link to my ebook as well, so feel free to download that. So let's get into it. Some 3 easy, simple tips to deal with anxiety, anger, frustration, or any emotion that you don't really like or you're not a fan of. Okay, first, and I know this might sound a little bit airy-fairy to some people, or you might have been heard it before, and you're like, what the hell, Hannah, just like talk about something different. But come back to your breath. Breathe deep. Okay, notice where you breathe from. Do you feel the breath in your chest or in your stomach? If you're a chest breather, it tends to be, I'm not a breath expert, but it tends to be that you have a shallower breath. When we get anxious or we feel anger or frustration, we tend to take shorter breaths, which obviously then exacerbates the emotion that we feel. So use your noggin, but transfer that big breath into your stomach. Just swap it around and take a deep breath into your stomach. Bring yourself back to the breath no matter what's going on. Focus on your breathing, okay? Focus on your breathing. Control your breathing. You know, that's why actually people, when they say they smoke, it calms them down. It actually doesn't. But think what you do when you go for a cigarette. You take a big inhale. So it's about bringing yourself back to the breath. The breath is the concrete thing that is always there for everybody. So bring yourself back to the breath. You know, if the breath isn't there, you're dead. So come back to the breath. Do some really, really simple, easy breathing techniques, okay? Even if it's just deep breaths, perfect. If you want to go a bit further, I always recommend box breathing because it's so super simple. There are so many amazing breathing techniques, but box breathing is super simple. You breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, and repeat. Just keep doing that. Do it as much as you want. Again, the counting and the control of your breath, one will take your mind off the emotion for a second. It will give you that little bit of a gap, and it will just naturally calm the body, okay? Secondly, if you experience anxiety or an emotion that you're not a fan of, okay, look at your scenario and the situation that you're in. What are you doing at that time? Is it something that you are quite fearful of? Is it, are you surrounded by people you're not a particular fan of? Are you at work, or are you watching the news, or has somebody scared you? Look at the scenario and the situation that you're in. Because the reason I say that is because those feelings don't actually come from the things around us. Even though you might think, well, Hannah, that's ridiculous. Of course, this makes me anxious, this makes me angry. Okay, it's not. It's our reaction to those things. Because if I gave you a bucket and I said, go out into the world and fill that bucket with anxiety or with anger or with frustration, you wouldn't be able to do it. Or if I said, go and fill it with all those anxious things, you would tell me things. You'd say, well, anxiety is when someone says something to me, or anger is when, I smash a plate, or whatever it may be. No, those are just responses to external situations, okay? So look at your scenario and ask yourself what you are thinking and believing about that scenario. Maybe you've watched the news and you've heard something that's a little bit scary. How are you reacting to it? What are you choosing to believe about that situation? Okay, so once we catch that, then we can reframe it and then we can change it. So have a look at what you're thinking and believing, because everything is a thought. If you couldn't think an anxious thought or a scary thought or an angry thought, then you would just happily skip through life. So everything is a thought. So look at what you're thinking and believing about a situation. Are those thoughts and are those beliefs helping you or hindering you? And then we can go through the process of reframing, which is my 3rd tip, reframing. Now, reframing is a daily practice. I do it daily, sometimes hourly, sometimes minutely, okay? We all have to reframe. So what is a reframe? A reframe is basically what it says on the tin. It's changing that thought to something more helpful or empowering. So for example, take a thought that everybody has, we all have it probably daily. Oh, I'm not very good at this, or I'm not very good. A reframe for me when I experience that is, I'm learning to get better at something, or I'm improving every day no matter what. So it's not about bullshitting yourself. It's not about going, I'm amazing. Reframe the thought into something that is believable for you and will create a whole new meaning behind that thought. So if you notice the thought, I'm not very good, what is a good reframe for you to make that more positive and more empowering? Because that's what a reframe needs to be. It needs to be more positive and more empowering, but also it doesn't need to be bullshit. So what is a more positive, empowering belief to I'm not very good? For me, it's I'm learning something new every day, or I'm getting better every day. Okay, if maybe you see something on the news that's quite scary and your thought is, oh my God, that's really scary, that's really going to hurt, blah, 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 whatever it may be. And a reframe for that's really scary could be, that's something that, you know, I've not experienced before. When I come up against that, I will embrace the challenge. Something like that, that's just off the top of my head, but you can reframe to whatever you want, okay? So top tips are breathing, evaluate your situation, what you're thinking and believing, and reframe the thoughts and beliefs that you have. So reframe, reframe, reframe. It's a daily practice, because those thoughts, once you reframe them, they don't vanish, they'll come back again. Reframe again, reframe again, reframe again. All anxiety, frustration, and all that is just a habitual thinking pattern that gets us into that emotion. We all experience it, it's completely normal, but just know that you can change it and you can end it. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day. Make sure, by the way, you hit subscribe and hit that notifications bell, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.